Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I am Adrian Fort, and we are here, you and I, for a quickie. This is a quickie of Stephen King's novel, It. So, what is it? It was published in September of 1986, Stephen King's 18th novel, and it is 1,090 pages long. It is the story of a group of ragtag friends who are assembled to face a supreme evil. And once they do away with this evil, their lives go on, apparently, for a number of years, and then they are reassembled in order to finally put down the evil that they had previously abated. So, 3 quotes from it, and I think it's necessary here to note that quotability is not necessarily Stephen King's strong point. So 1, he thrusts his fists against the posts and still insists he sees the ghosts. 2, politics always change, stories never do. 3, maybe people really don't change as much as we think. Maybe they just stiffen up. So, sell it with a sentence. Follow 35 characters through 40 years of their lives to battle one supreme evil over 1,090 pages of competently written pop fic. So, the 3 best things about this book. 1, it is extremely ambitious, and that is something that has to be appreciated. 2, King is second to none as far as making pages fly by painlessly. And 3, the idea of it is compelling and possibly even haunting when you sit down and really think about it. The 3 worst things about this novel. 1, no matter how fast you read this, 1,900 pages is still an investment. You could read The Great Gatsby like 9 times during this. 2, it is well written, but at no point and on no level is this novel spectacular. And 3, this is a horror novel that is never truly scary. 3 themes and or literary qualities. 1, the idea of community. It's probably possible to stop at just friendship, but I think that this needs further clarification because, for example, the bullies are part of the same community with which it interacts. So are the old-timers, and so are people who are outside of our group of heroes' little clique. We also get snapshots of how it catalyzed entire communities during its reemergences. 2, fear versus bravery. This is probably the biggest theme in the novel. And this is that bravery has an appreciable value. It's an ancient idea and it's cliche at this point. But it has so much play throughout time that it's almost impossible to say that there is not something in this idea of bravery as a tangible thing or an appreciable thing that it's almost impossible to say that that is not part of the human condition. And King boils it down so beautifully with the perfect antagonist. 3, finally, I'd like to talk about something which is not necessarily thematic. It is more of a literary quality, and honestly, for me, it's the creepiest part of it. We learn through the story that Pennywise might not necessarily be mortal and might not necessarily be immortal. It might be simply a natural occurrence, like the wind. It simply is. But there's also a counterbalance to it, which seems to be skirted around a little bit in the novel, hinted at from time to time. And this is that this counterweight is the force which assembles the warriors which are needed and necessary to combat it. And for me, that's a really interesting idea, because this has not come across as a religious idea, but something different than that, an idea of sort of like fate. So 3 questions for further reading. is it gone for good? The bad guy always dies, but he's never dead, right? And this seems, you know, of all the big bads who have ever prodded their way out of the grave to stick a hand up through soil, Pennywise seems like a logical choice. It seems ripe for a sequel. In fact, this is the summer that would be 30 years after the events took place last in Derry, Maine. 2, what kinds of stories are told by our surviving protagonists when they become the old-timers? Do they remain tight-lipped protectors of the lore, like the old-timers that preceded them? I'd love to see this explored in the sequel as well. 3, the Deadlights were an extremely compelling idea. Are there live lights? Just write the sequel already, Stephen. Come on. 3 recommendations. 1 by Stephen King, The Shining, which is my favorite of the Stephen King novels that I've read so far. It doesn't really have much to do with it besides child protagonists, but it's a really good novel by the same author. 1 of the same genre, House on Haunted Hill by Shirley Jackson. King praises this seminal horror novel greatly in Danse Macabre, and it is worth every letter of that praise. It dances on the border of a genre piece and a literary work in the same way that King does from time to time when he's hitting on all cylinders. And 3, a recommendation with a common theme, As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. This doesn't seem to fit at first, but Faulkner's piece is more than a bit morbid. Also, it is painted in the palette of the Northeast, while As I Lay Dying is painted in the palette of Southern culture. But here's the heart of the recommendation. Faulkner's work is about community, and it's about an ethereal compulsion which binds the protagonist during their journey. And for me, that's what sort of makes it fall into this bandwagon. 9, a rating. I give this 83 out of 100 Tim Curry ruins your childhoods, but I think even that deserves clarification. I'm a big fan of Hemingway and I'm a big fan of minimalism, so this is sort of the anti-Adrian's readership novel. It's a very good book and it's definitely worth reading, but it is important to bear in mind that it is an investment. So, if you've not already, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we plan on having more quickies for you in the future.